sure Jake Paul's that crazy.
That's a fucking bad idea.
AJ's gonna knock him out.
He's going to get hurt.
This might be a step too far.
So apparently chaos erupts as Anthony Joshua just punched Jake Paul outside Miami airport. And the internet is already acting like a new world war just started. Because of course Jake Paul can't step off a plane without turning the sidewalk into a promotional trailer. And now everyone's arguing online like this wasn't the most predictable celebrity meltdown of the week.
Yes, sir! Yes, sir! Yes, sir!
It's honestly wild how fast the internet breaks the moment Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul end up in the same location, because apparently the universe can't resist throwing gasoline on a fire that was already burning. The second news broke that something went down outside Miami airport, people acted like this was the celebrity version of a solar eclipse. And let's be honest, nobody was shocked that Jake Paul was involved in yet another confrontation. What did surprise everyone was that Joshua didn't just walk away like he usually does. Instead, something finally snapped, and now the entire world suddenly thinks they're experts on airport security protocols.
Let's go!
What makes it even funnier is that this wasn't even inside the terminal or during some dramatic boarding scene. It was literally on the sidewalk, the most chaotic place on earth. You've got luggage rolling everywhere, taxis honking, people yelling in 5 different languages, and then boom, 2 of the most talked about fighters collide. It's almost poetic in the most dysfunctional way possible. And of course, Miami Airport is now trending like it just hosted the heavyweight championship of bad decisions. What makes this whole thing even crazier is that the drama wasn't just random. There was already tension bubbling for months.
Boys.
And anyone pretending to be shocked must have been living under a Wi-Fi-less rock. Every time Jake Paul opened his mouth about fighting real boxers, Anthony Joshua's name magically floated into the conversation like a spirit summoned by pure delusion. Jake kept poking, kept shouting, kept doing that classic YouTuber thing where he mistakes confidence for invincibility. And sure, it works online, but real life does not come with a comment section you can turn off. Joshua always stayed quiet, almost too quiet, which in retrospect was probably a sign he was collecting patience like Infinity Stones.
2-time heavyweight champion of the world, an Olympic gold medalist. While he was winning Olympic gold, I was filming vines in high school. What'd you say? AJ is a knockout artist with fights that have literally ended in seconds.
So when these two ended up face to face at the airport, the tension wasn't just noticeable. You could probably feel it vibrating through the concrete. It had that, oh no, this is about to go very wrong in public energy. Witnesses say Jake Paul walked straight up to Joshua with that trademark smirk he uses when he's about to turn reality into a marketing campaign. You know the smirk, the one that screams, "This will get views," even before anything happens. And he didn't come empty-handed either. He brought the attitude, the camera crew, the ego, and that little spark that somehow always leads to public disaster.
He fought legends. Klitschko, Usyk, Ruiz, Ngannou.
Biggest shot I have seen live.
I'm not gonna lie.
Meanwhile, Joshua wasn't in the mood for theatrics. He was in travel mode, hoodie on, bag in hand, that "don't bother me, I'm tired" look every human has when they just want to get to the hotel. But the problem is, Jake Paul doesn't read social cues. He bulldozes through them like a toddler with a sugar rush. So he kept pushing, kept poking, kept throwing little verbal jabs like he was trying to warm up for a TikTok clip. And that's when things took a turn straight into chaos. Now here's the thing nobody wants to admit. Jake Paul knows exactly how to trigger people, and it's basically his entire personality at this point.
I'm a little scared. And yes, little Josh is signed to my enemy, Eddie Hearn. And I know Eddie and all of you naysayers were saying that I wouldn't take this fight.
He doesn't even need to insult you. Sometimes his face alone unlocks new levels of irritation, and he used every ounce of that talent on Joshua, talking loud enough for every bystander to hear like he was auditioning for a reality show. Reports say he started throwing shade about Joshua's safe fighting style, which is hilarious coming from someone who staged half his boxing career like WWE storylines. Joshua tried to brush it off first with silence, then with that annoyed chuckle men do when they're one comment away from regretting their entire day. But Jake didn't stop, because Jake never stops.
1%?
Jake Paul probably doesn't care about the money,
Well,
but
he has plenty of money, and if he won, oh my God, if he beat Anthony Joshua, good Lord. Good Lord. I mean, that's a big if.
And at some point, Joshua realized he had two options: walk away and let the guy keep barking, or shut it down in the oldest way known to mankind. And that's when the moment happened, the one everyone is replaying like it's the Zapruder film of influencer stupidity. Witnesses say Joshua stepped forward, Jake stepped closer, and then Joshua delivered one clean, sharp punch. Not a fight, not a scuffle, just one punctuation mark placed right into Jake Paul's personal space. It wasn't theatrical, it wasn't drawn out, it wasn't some choreographed boxing encounter. It was the kind of hit someone throws when they're done talking.
I mean,
Anthony Joshua,
I do not think-
Olympic gold
Yes.
medalist, former heavyweight champion of the world. What he did to Francis Ngannou,
I
like,
know.
good Lord.
Yes.
Do you want that smoke?
Yeah, I just think it's all about.
And done being poked like a zoo animal. And Jake Paul, world-class self-promoter that he is, immediately turned it into the most dramatic reaction humanly possible. He stumbled back, hands up, yelling about lawsuits and rematches, even though this wasn't a ring, wasn't a weigh-in, wasn't even a beef event. It was literally the airport. Sidewalk at 3 p.m. on a Wednesday. The funniest part? The crowd reacted like they just witnessed the ending of a superhero movie. Some people screamed, others recorded, a few tried to break it up, even though the fight lasted maybe 5 seconds. And then you had that one guy in the background shouting.
Well, it's a dangerous fight.
Yeah.
Because Joshua's going to try to make an example out of him, for sure.
And will.
And will. I mean, Anthony
I know.
Joshua's one of the biggest one-punch KO artists ever.
Yes.
World star, because apparently that tradition will never die. Security rushed in like they were auditioning for an action film, trying to separate two people who had already moved apart. Jake Paul started yelling about being assaulted, which, let's be honest, was inevitable. Joshua kept calm, kept quiet, kept looking like a man who just wants to find his Uber and forget the last 2 minutes ever happened. Meanwhile, influencers started posting their reactions online before the actual video even surfaced. Because of course they did. And let's talk about the aftermath, because it's almost more chaotic than the punch itself.
Even if AJ had a broken arm in there, it still wouldn't go past a minute. To be quite honest with you, and as a safety aspect, there's no way that fight can go ahead. At the end of the day, my God, how good does it make me look? He gets beat by Jake Paul. Well, that automatically makes me two-time heavyweight champion of the world, doesn't it?
Jake Paul immediately turned the situation into a marketing opportunity shocker, dropping cryptic tweets, posting close-ups of his face, and hinting at how unprofessional Joshua was. This is the same man who fakes beef for views, but suddenly he's the ambassador of sportsmanship? The internet ate it up, though. Hashtags started trending before people even knew what actually happened. Memes poured in faster than airport baggage. Some fans defended Jake, others cheered for Joshua, and a surprising number of people were just happy something dramatic finally happened in boxing again.
Jake Paul, excuse me.
Jay!
Who are you fighting, when, and why?
I'm fighting Anthony Joshua because I'm fucking him!
What?
Because let's be honest, the sport hasn't had this much viral movement since someone said the words Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul. Joshua, on the other hand, handled the aftermath with the calmness of a man who knows he doesn't need to explain himself to anyone. No dramatic vlog, no Instagram meltdown, no emotional monologue filmed from the inside of a Sprinter van. He just maintained that same collected energy he always has, letting the internet do the talking while he stayed above the noise. And that actually made the situation worse for Jake, because nothing is more infuriating to a habitual instigator than a target who doesn't respond.
I'm fighting Anthony Joshua because I'm him.
Holy shit, just let me take a second. Is this motherfucker out of
Dude, it's light work.
Joshua's silence became the new storyline, with fans speculating whether he'd eventually release a statement. Spoiler, he didn't. And honestly, he didn't need to. One punch said more than any press release ever could. What really sent the situation into overdrive wasn't even the punch itself, it was how fast the narrative spiraled once fans, fighters, influencers, and internet chaos merchants all jumped into the conversation like they were invited to a table nobody set. The second the clip hit social media, reactions exploded in every direction, and suddenly people were arguing like they were personal witnesses standing 3 feet away instead of scrolling half awake in their bedrooms.
I think that answer will shock a lot of people.
At first, I was against it, and I was just like, man, this dude, because when people was coming.
Boxing analysts acted like this was a historic turning point for the sport, while Jake Paul fans insisted he was ambushed, as if Joshua materialized out of thin air like a glitch in a video game. And then there were the casual observers, the ones who don't even know the rules of boxing but still chimed in just for the entertainment value. Every platform had its own storyline, each more dramatic than the last, making it impossible to tell who was reporting facts and who was just trying to go viral. And the funniest part is that Jake didn't even get seriously hurt, yet the reactions made it sound like he'd survived a natural disaster.
About it, how are we even talking about this? He got his nut boxed off by me a little over 2 years ago, and now all of a sudden he's talking about fighting Anthony Joshua. It's like, come on, like you can't be serious. He can't beat me. I'm not Anthony Joshua, am I? So it's just ludicrous. It really is.
It was chaos layered on top of chaos, the perfect recipe for a digital meltdown. As the internet kept spiraling, people started dissecting every frame of the video like it was some kind of high-stakes evidence in a courtroom drama. You had slow-motion edits, freeze frames, zoom-ins, and angles that somehow made Joshua look like both the hero and the villain depending on who posted it. Commentators went full detective mode, trying to analyze Joshua's expression and Jake's posture like they were decoding ancient hieroglyphics instead of watching two grown men have a tense moment at an airport.
But if I can beat Jake Paul, then excuse my French, what the fuck is Anthony Joshua going to do to Jake Paul? I think my dad said AJ could beat him with his prick, and I completely will back that up.
Fans tried to determine whether Jake provoked the punch, conveniently ignoring the fact that provocation is basically Jake's entire brand. Meanwhile, journalists twisted the story depending on their bias. Some painted Joshua as a ticking time bomb. Others portrayed Jake as a reckless instigator who finally ran into someone who wasn't interested in playing YouTube games. Every interpretation was different, yet everyone swore theirs was the truth. It was like watching a global group project fail in real time. The media frenzy only intensified when celebrities started commenting.
The Joshua thing is crazy.
Is that a real conversation?
Jake's a fucking lunatic, and it's probably...
Because nothing boosts an already ridiculous situation, like famous people tossing in opinions nobody asked for. A few fighters laughed, a few defended Jake, and some quietly celebrated that the universe finally delivered karma with surprising efficiency. Even politicians somehow jumped in, proving that nobody can resist a trending moment if it makes them look relatable for 5 seconds. Sports networks hosted emergency segments to debate whether Joshua's reaction was appropriate or damaging to the sport, as if boxing hasn't been fueled by controversy since the beginning of time.
If he steps in the ring with him and actually a bell rings and there are punches thrown, every bit of Jake Paul is not a real boxer conversation is gone forever.
Influencers, of course, milked the situation, dry posting 10-minute breakdowns titled "This is Bad" with dramatic thumbnails featuring exaggerated facial expressions. And all of this was happening while Joshua himself was probably sitting in a hotel room eating room service and ignoring the circus. The contrast between the internet's intensity and Joshua's calm was almost comedic. Jake Paul, on the other hand, leaned into the drama with the desperation of someone who knows how to turn even humiliation into monetizable content. He began posting stories hinting at the full truth and claiming he was blindsided.
Because AJ, especially when it comes to fighting, is a serious dude. And I know Jake Paul, the problem child, he can be rude, he can be in your face. Remember when he snatched Floyd Mayweather's hat? And they do all the kind of things. Mike Tyson ended up slapping him in his face and standing on his toe.
Even though multiple witnesses said otherwise, he teased a video drop, a statement, a reaction, and possibly a fight announcement because Jake never misses an opportunity to squeeze attention out of a situation. He complained about unprofessional behavior while wearing the same smug expression he uses when instigating half the drama he complains about. It was classic Jake Paul energy, taking something embarrassing and flipping it into a chance to look like a victim, a fighter, and a marketing genius all at once. People ate it up, of course. His fans defended him with the passion of a sports team you'd think was paying them.
They don't like it because it's like, why are they disrespecting our sport? There's an Olympic system that you have to go through, and once you're qualified there, then you go through to the professional ranks. Whereas someone with a profile can just come out of nowhere and fight one of the best guys.
While his critics used the incident as proof of every flaw they've ever pointed out. Jake didn't have to do much. The internet was doing the heavy lifting for him. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, event organizers, promoters, and PR teams were probably having the worst day of their professional lives. Because if there's one thing worse than a scandal involving two fighters, it's a scandal involving two fighters who weren't even scheduled to meet. Rumors started swirling immediately. Was this staged? Was a fight between the two already secretly being planned? Were they about to announce something massive?
This is going to be the toughest fight of his career.
Sharp, relax.
The most embarrassing fight of his career.
A chair across your face.
Yeah, I think he's about to cry.
The speculation became so loud that promoters had to issue vague statements saying they were monitoring the situation, which only made fans more suspicious. And to be fair, boxing has a long history of turning chaos into cash, so people were right to wonder. If there's money to be made, promoters will find a way, and this situation had money written all over it. As the buzz kept building, another layer of the drama emerged. People started analyzing Joshua's career, motivations, and mental state like they personally knew him. They dug up old interviews, press conferences, even childhood stories.
I mean, you say that though, obviously he has self-belief. Any man who's got self-belief will put themselves in harm's way to prove their point as a dangerous man. Don't get me wrong, you know, no matter what happens.
Trying to craft an explanation for why he reacted the way he did. Some said he was stressed from recent matches. Others said he was tired of being disrespected by non-boxers who treat the sport like a playground. And a surprising number of people suggested he was simply fed up with Jake Paul's entire existence. The theories were endless, and while some were ridiculous, others actually made a weird kind of sense. Joshua has always been composed, respectful, and reserved, so for him to react physically meant something pushed him beyond his usual limits. But online detectives acted like they cracked some grand psychological code.
This is another level. This is a really dangerous. He ain't fighting a granddad. He isn't fighting a grandfather. It's absolute lunacy.
When in reality, sometimes a person just has a breaking point. As for Jake, people began revisiting his long list of controversies, bad behavior, and intentionally provocative moments as if assembling a legal case. Every past insult, staged argument, fake storyline, and disrespectful comment resurfaced like forgotten fossils being dug up during an excavation. It turned into a highlight reel of Jake Paul doing what Jake Paul does best: push boundaries until someone finally pushes back. Some fans claimed Joshua went too far, but others argued that Jake had been asking for this moment for years.
So that's what he wants though. So it's not crazy. He's getting what he wants. It's not crazy. That's what I said. I don't think Jake's crazy. He's a realist. He's a logical man. And he wants to fight. He wants to fight good fight.
And truthfully, that's the part that made the punch go viral faster than anything else. People felt like they were watching the inevitable finally arrive. It wasn't random. It wasn't surprising. It was simply the moment that completes the arc Jake had been building since he stepped into the boxing world. As the noise grew louder, people at the airport began releasing their own first-hand accounts, each story getting more dramatic as if they were competing for attention. One person claimed Jake insulted Joshua directly. Another claimed Jake blocked his path. Another said Jake told him he was washed.
What advantages does Jake Paul have over Anthony Joshua?
Absolutely nothing. There'll be no advantage. I mean, he's not done anything in boxing to have one advantage over him. There's not one physical advantage, there's not one.
And someone else insisted Jake was filming everything intentionally to provoke a reaction. Whether any of these were true didn't matter. People believed whatever version matched their bias. Even taxi drivers and airport workers began chiming in, giving the internet exactly what it loves: messy, unverified testimonials with a sprinkle of chaos. The incident became a patchwork of half-truths, exaggerations, and conflicting narratives, making it impossible to know where reality ended and entertainment began. But that didn't stop the world from obsessing over every detail. The craziest part is that the punch wasn't even the most dramatic thing Jake Paul has ever been involved in.
It's insane. It's dangerously insane. It's right. And I never thought I'd say that in my lifetime, but because he says some crazy shit. But he probably could knock him out with his bell end.
But the reason this moment hit differently is because this time he wasn't in control. Jake thrives when he's the one stirring the pot, directing the scene, or creating the chaos. But at the airport, he wasn't the puppet master. He was the one caught off guard, and audiences love that. People love watching someone who prides themselves on always being one step ahead, suddenly get jolted out of their comfort zone. It makes them feel like the universe has a sense of humor, especially when the person involved is as polarizing as Jake Paul, and Joshua delivering that punch without theatrics made it hit even harder. Eat.
Just wanted to come in here and remind everybody that that bum couldn't beat me when I basically had a broken hand. I had one hand and he still lost. Jake Paul, I'm still your daddy, and everybody weighing this fight up, don't bother, because he ain't worth a shilling.
No build up, no countdown, just a clean moment of cause and effect. As the hours passed, the incident took on a life of its own, evolving into a cultural conversation that stretched far beyond boxing. People started debating influencer culture, celebrity entitlement, the boundaries of provocation, and what happens when digital bravado collides with real-world consequences. Some viewed the punch as a metaphor for everything wrong with the online world, while others saw it as a refreshing reminder that actions still have reactions outside of the internet. And then there were people who didn't care about symbolism or meaning.
Young boxers, I always say, don't wait until you become a champion before you announce to the world who you are. It's too late then. You need to get people following you, so by the time you're a champion, everyone's ready to buy a ticket.
It was messy enough to be entertaining and real enough to feel significant. And even though both men walked away without major injuries, the impact on their public image, their rivalry, and the future of their careers was undeniable.
No, tiny. I'm a big boy.
Whether or not this leads to a fight, a collaboration, or a never-ending feud, one thing is certain: the moment outside Miami airport will be referenced for years as the incident that shook the internet, rattled the boxing world, and proved that when Jake Paul pushes the wrong person on the wrong day, chaos doesn't just erupt, it explodes.